We're going to move to our Excellence in Action portion of the evening. And in tonight's Excellence in Action portion, we're going to learn about the Edina Rotary Global Scholars Program and meet two exceptional Edina High School seniors. Their Global Scholar Capstone projects were recently recognized at the Model G20 Youth Leadership Summit. Here to tell us more about the program is the program's coordinator, Lindsay Smaka. So welcome, Ms. Smaka and our two global scholars.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me tonight. Thank you to the board for having me and for letting us talk, and also to the district for supporting this awesome program. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a brief background of the program and then allow for our awesome scholars to present, Emma and Ashna. All right, so a little bit about the program. It came to be last school year. We recruited students such as Ashna and Emma. And this school year, the 2020-2021 school year, was our first inaugural year of the program, which was a very interesting year to start the program. But we made it happen. The students took it in strides with everything going on, and we have had some awesome projects come out of it. So it is designed to be a 3-year program. It can be completed in fewer years. So Ashna and Emma are current seniors, and they completed it in this year because they already had some of the requirements. It's sponsored by the Edina Education Fund and the Rotary Club of Edina. The point of it is to help students develop global competency skills for post-graduation work, whether that is school or going into the workforce, prepare for a global career in this increasingly interconnected world, develop understanding for world issues, and build bridges across nations and cultures. And on top of all of those cool things, there are scholarships opportunities at the end of the program, and students get recognized at graduation. Here's an overview of the requirements. So students choose a program of study, something that they are passionate about. It's either STEM, humanities, or fine arts, and complete a set number of classes in their program of study. Students reach proficiency in a world language. So oftentimes it's going to be one of the world languages offered at the high school. Sometimes it is a world language that students already know and maybe speak at home, or maybe come from another country and are already fluent in that language. They participate in a global collaboration experience, which I will talk more about in a little bit. They also participate in the Rotary Club, and there are many youth programs through our local Rotary Club that students participate in. And then they take a Capstone course, and in that course do some global competency training. In that course, their main objective is to create a research project on a global issue. They choose a country and focus on that global issue in that country, as well as here in Minnesota. So Ashna and Emma are going to talk about their research projects. So global collaboration experience, this was the one hurdle we came across this school year with COVID hitting, because normally our global collaboration experience would include travel. So the Rotary International Youth Exchange would fulfill this requirement. The Edina Public Schools travel-based learning courses, such as our South Korea exchange, our science expedition to Ecuador, those all count as a global collaboration experience, or some independent international exchange program. But with COVID, all of that was not possible. So this year we came up with some virtual experiences to fulfill this global collaboration experience, which is actually great because that was one of my goals at the beginning of the program, was to try to create a virtual experience so that travel wasn't necessarily needed. So some students participated in the Model UN conference, and some students participated in the Model G20 Summit, and that was Ashna and Emma. And they just participated a couple of weeks ago. Ashna was the best Minister of Energy representing South Africa at the end of the conference. Emma was the best Minister of the Environment and Sustainable Development representing Australia. So I was not at that conference because it was all virtual. So I am going to let Ashna and Emma explain a little bit more what that conference was, as well as their research projects that they're currently working on. Ash?
Hi, my name is Ashna. I'm a senior, and basically I'm going to go over the overall structure of the summit. Ms. Maka, you went off the slides. Okay, so basically it was four-hour sessions over 2 weekends, and during that time we got to speak with students from all over the world. We had different kinds of meetings. We had country delegations, so I had meetings with all of the ministers from South Africa, and Emma probably had meetings with all of the ministers from Australia. We also had ministerial meetings where we got to speak with all of the other ministers of our same group, but from all over the world, to create multilateral and bilateral agreements between our countries. And there's also this new aspect called the Deciding Committee, and that's also a group of students that would actually grade our performance and our policies that we made during the conference. In addition, we also had some expert lectures, so those are really inspiring to listen to from professors. And at the end, we had final presentations. We really had just a short amount of time because so many students spoke, but we got to present our policies, and then the Deciding Committee asked us questions to follow up if they needed to. Overall, we were graded on creativity and innovation, public speaking, domain expertise, integration, efficacy and feasibility, and equitability of our policies. So the whole goal of the summit was to research your country, get a really in-depth view of your country's point of view on the issue of climate change, and create policies as just ideas to implement for your country and for the entire world. And a cool opportunity that some people could take part in was to create a position paper that would actually be sent to different organizations around the world. So my project, this is just kind of a brief overview of the policies that I came up with. On the top left, those are just diagrams showing the impact of climate change in South Africa and how they're not really meeting their goals. And then the other two pictures are my policy slides. So my two different policies were, one, to implement a green recovery from COVID by transitioning to renewable energy sources. And then the other one was to establish independent power producers. So those are both of my policies. And then for my capstone course for Rotary Global Scholars, that's also a requirement of the course, of the program. I'm focusing this semester on the issue of farmlands becoming wastelands, unsustainable practices that are destroying our food sources, and I'm trying to figure out a way that we can move to sustainable practices to hopefully maintain our food source and provide food for everyone, which is why I'm focusing on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal of Zero Hunger. So my question is, what sustainable agricultural practices from all realms of science can be implemented to provide reliable food sources to people around the world? And I really want to focus on that part of all realms of science, because I think I'm going to work as my local project with the Indigenous Food Lab here in the Twin Cities to have a different perspective on sustainable food practices. And I'm just going to create that in a podcast.
Hello, everyone. My name is Emma. I'm a senior at the high school with Ashna, and I also had a pleasure of being part of the Edina Global Rotary Scholars Program. And because of this, I was introduced to the Model G20 Summit, which I participated in with about 430 other members from across the globe. So, like Ashna said, the summit was held in February and lasted for around 2 weeks. We went from 6 to 10 p.m. on Friday and Saturday nights, and everyone met up for country roundtable and ministerial meetings. Members were divided into 3 groups and assigned to either a country delegation or a deciding committee. So in cohort C, I had the chance to be a delegate of Australia. Upon first joining your delegation, you and your fellow members determine which position you want to play. You can either be a minister or the head of the state, and you run for election and other members will vote for you. I was chosen as Minister of the Environment and Sustainable Development. During the summit, we had the opportunity to listen to keynote lectures like Ashton talked about with the professors, and we got to take a course on the foundations for climate action in order to understand more about climate change. The course was made up of around 7 lessons with corresponding assignments and forums so we could collaborate with other people on each topic from lessons. We then established bilateral and multilateral policies with the help of our groups and other countries. And policy creation was honestly an absolute delight. We were given a platform to present our policies for around 60 seconds. And with the summit being over now, we have an opportunity to create a position paper and go in more in depth with all of our policies. So now I'll talk a bit about my work specifically. And I think the hardest thing about this particularly was just the time management in general, because originally I was going to create around 8 policies, but with the limited amount of time we had, I was cut down to 4. However, even with 4, I still feel I was able to creatively and effectively convey the majority of what I wanted to say in my policies. Going over them briefly, my first policy was a bilateral agreement with the EU talking about ecotourism, promoting ecotourism to preserve natural environments. We wanted to work together and produce investment opportunities with local entrepreneurs, increase protected lands that were emission-free, and establish strong branding and human resource programs. My next policy talked more about ensuring better protection for endangered species by bolstering existing reserves in protected area and expanding said reserves while establishing mitigation steps and handling fire ramifications in a better way. My third policy was about reducing the destruction of marine habitats by establishing carrying capacity restrictions to manage recreational use, instituting prevention and control initiatives to handle invasive marine species, reducing harsh land impacts from erosion, sewage, storm debris, and agricultural chemicals, setting up new initiatives to combat coral bleaching and ocean acidification, and finally, establishing restoration protocols. And my last policy was probably the most important because it was about reducing deforestation in Australia by encouraging companies to adopt zero deforestation policies, stopping illegal logging, decreasing agricultural rent with reforms to improve tenure security, increasing road upkeep, increasing forest rentals, reducing industrial encroachment, and expanding protected land to ensure preservation of old-growth forests. Now I'm going to move on to a little bit more about my capstone project in specific. And because of policy creation work from the summit, I was very inspired to do my capstone on deforestation. So I'm focusing on the
resources to think about for the Rotary Club or others. Once this work is done, it's basically a proposal for funding. That's really what you're doing. Whether you put it at a country level or ministry level, like, You're putting together a thoughtful, detail-oriented, data-driven proposal for funding. Is there any way to continue that process once this is done? Or from Teacher Smacker? Because it sounds awesome.
Yeah, right now it is. Oh, sorry, my dog's again. Right now it is exactly what you described, where the students are just merely creating this suggestion as to what can be done and showing scientists what can be done. We are working with the Rotary program. So in the future, I think some of these proposals could actually come to light.
That's great. I did UN stuff in high school and it wasn't like this. It was much simpler, so it's impressive.
Anything else? Well, thank you everyone for presenting. That's very impressive. And thank you to the Rotary and Edina Education Fund for sponsoring this. It's such a great opportunity. We really appreciate the community support. So thank you. And good luck finishing your capstone projects.
It's awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.